Hi, welcome to Drum Technique Made Easy. My name is Bruce Becker. I'm going to be your coach and guide for the next 26 weeks for this great course. A little bit about my background. I've been teaching now for 36 years, and I've been very blessed and fortunate to have some of the top drummers come into my studio for lessons, and that includes Mark Shulman, Daniel Glass, a very young Glenn Sobel, Tristan Bowden of the band Chicago, and David Garibaldi of Tower of Power. All these great, unique players have come to me to talk about their technique and issues that surround building a better approach to playing. So hang on to your hats for this ride. It's going to be a great 26 weeks. The overview that I'm going to present will give us a little bit of insights as to how I want to approach this course. And I hope that you all enjoy it because it's going to be an amazing opportunity to push your playing to new levels. So let's take a look at the overview of grips. Okay, for the overview of grips, what I want to basically talk about is just labeling some names so we have reference points to speak about and you can understand from my approach and how I speak about these things where we connect on a level of, okay, that's what the German grip is, that's what the French grip is, and that's what the American grip is. Little side note regarding the American grip, that was a term that I heard that Gene Krupa came up with. So if you're not familiar with Gene Krupa, one of the great drummers of all time, and was actually the guy who really put drummers on the map in that they became sort of a star of some orchestras back in the early days of the swing era. So our first approach, though, let's talk about what the German grip is and what are the attributes and what do we have that really is accessible from our anatomy. Well, in the German grip, the first and foremost is that we have access to the wrist. Because our palm is in a down position, we can easily use the wrist for momentum and pushing the stick along to create an easy bouncing, flowing move. And that's one of the great attributes of German. A few other key points is that I identify the fulcrum as being the last joint of the index finger. And so what I mean by that is I have a base joint, I have my middle joint, and the last joint. And I want the stick to sit in that balanced position so that it works for me and I'm not working against the weight of the stick. I want to get the balance to feel that when I drop the stick, I get multiple bounces easily. If I hold it behind the balance point, I get sort of a lead weight. Now that doesn't mean that you can't utilize that, but we want to try to attenuate our approach to being really recognizing that point of balance so that the stick moves a lot freer and easier in our grip. Another attribute of the German grip is that, and we'll go into this in detail, is that we have access to the Moeller technique. If you're not familiar with the Moeller technique, this was a technique that was designed or sort of named by the gentleman by the name of Sanford G. Moeller, who basically came up with this watching parade drummers and how they struck the drum and got an immense amount of power. Later on, Jimmy Chapin, who was a student of Sanford Moeller, went on all around the world speaking about the Moeller technique. So these are some of the attributes and some of the fine tunings that we're going to talk about in the German grip. And again, palm down, stick sits in the last joint of the index finger, the thumb lies flat against the stick, and we want to have a gap here because that'll open up the acoustic resonance of the stick. So German grip, that's step one. Get your passport ready and let's go to another country. The French grip. I was very fortunate when I was a young guy to study at the classical percussion department at Cal State Northridge in Los Angeles, and I had a teacher by the name of Karen Irvin who was very instrumental in presenting the French timpanist grip to me. And she imparted some very, very clean words of wisdom regarding that approach that stuck with me and maneuvered me through to sort of access a better understanding of how that works on drum set as well. When you're playing timpani, you want the mallet to bounce off the timpani head to get a very nice open resonant tone out of the drum. If you strike into the drum, you kill the sound. So one of the attributes of French grip, again, just like our German grip, the stick will sit in that last joint of the index finger with the thumb print on top. I want to make sure that I have a bond of those two digits, my index finger and thumb. And my back three fingers will be slightly curled to accept the stick in a more harmonious position whereby I'm not cradling the stick. Again, once you know the rules, you can break those rules. But these are the, what I say, the high-end detail of what you do with these grips. Another attribute of the French grip is that you can get nice single strokes because you can access the development of your fingers much easier. If you're trying to pull them from German, you might get a cut to the stick. And so once you start to feel how that works in French grip, you can modify it and rearrange your positions as you go through the process. What I like about French grip as well is that it also gives me a very firm identity of the lift and drop of the stick, because now it's freely swinging. I have nothing to encumber my movement of the stick. If I have my wrist involved, it can be somewhat a little bit, difficult to feel where the weight of the stick is. In French grip, you can only feel the weight of the stick. It really gives you a different sensibility about the stick, and that is what we're looking to manipulate, the stick, trying to build a better flow of stick movement where our hand doesn't get stuck and impede the fluidity of our motion. So French grip is a great opportunity to open some things dialectically, whether it's some jazz or swing style playing, or just open R&B eighth notes. Both of those musics can really be tapped into by using a French grip approach. And that's really what we're looking at. We're looking at developing a musical connection to how we facilitate our technique. It's really about facilitating music at the end of the day. It's not about licks all the time. That's fun, and that, of course, as drummers, we all want to pursue that level of playing. But at the end of the day, it's really about music. So let's try to really facilitate this approach as we go through this course and make it real musical to enhance your musicianship. The final approach in match grip would be the American grip, which has nuances of German and French. Now, in the American grip, what I would say is that the French element of that is I can access my fingers from this position and not be all the way in where my sticks would be parallel in my French grip. And that gives me access to the fingers from out here so that I don't need to make a large swing and come in to do single strokes if I'm doing something that would require that. And other attributes of that would be just, I say, more vibey elements from American grip. When you get down to it, there's a lot of posture and gesture that we do as we play. We're trying to give forth a feel and attitude to the music that really represents what we want to put out there. So as you go through the process, there are some rigidities to the approaches, I would say, in the beginning stages. But once you know the rules, you can start to break them. And that's really what I'm here to do, is to help guide some of the rules and some of the formulative things that we can get out of all these grips. So that's basically the three approaches in the match grip approach. For you traditional grip guys, I just want to put forward that if you're a traditional grip guy, the principles basically are the same. We're working with balance, we're working with gravity, we're working with perpetual motion. And so identifying the balance of the stick in the crook of the thumb for your traditional grip is just the same process as developing the relationship to how it sits over the last joint of the index finger in the French grip. And so a couple of attributes that you can work on for a traditional grip are holding that stick in the crook of the thumb, allowing the ring and pinky finger to be closed. Now that's difficult because a lot of guys reflexively open that up. And I'm not saying it's bad to open it up, and we will use that, but essentially we want to have a closure to that so the fingers can stay out of the way of the stick and get a free bouncing stick unencumbered by those back two fingers. The main motivator of the stick from the traditional grip would be the radius ulna, just like in the French grip. And that allows me to pull in and bounce that stick freely as long as I have a reasonable housing. And the housing that I've built up for my traditional grip in this position would be identified basically what I would do in German and how I would use French. So there's really a solid bond of, consistency in how we house that stick. Whether it's French grip, German grip, American grip, traditional grip, they're all really bound by many of the same principles. And it just takes a moment for you to get a little bit of clarity as to how they all work. So I'm looking forward to leading you guys through the next 26 weeks for this great course of technique. And I'd like you all to introduce yourselves in the comment below. Let me know where you come from and who you are so that we can get to know each other and get ready for a great run of 26 weeks of building technique. I look forward to hanging with you.